Welcome to Building Healthy Relationships, the 4 Habits podcast, helping you enjoy better harmony at home, thrive at work, and win at life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Andrea and Jon Taylor-Cummings, recognized authorities on the subjects of improving work relationships and cultures, as well as couple and home relationships.
Today, we want to start with a question. Does your RQ promote you or expose you? And by RQ, we mean relational intelligence, your level of ability to do relationships well. So does your RQ promote you or expose you? And one of the big lessons we learned in life is that our RQ definitely exposed us. And it was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? Because with our level of educational background, with the professional experience we had, we were convinced we had strong relational intelligence. Was that right?
We thought we were there. We thought we knew it. Well, a bit of our background. We had met at business school.
Yeah, this is John's favorite line. So you're going to share that story, right?
So the line is, Andrea came to the UK to get her master's, and she got her Mister as well.
There you go. That's
the line.
That's why it's John's line.
So we met at business school. And we learned things about behavior. What was the class?
Organizational behavior, culture,
all those sorts of things we learned.
Personality profiles. We did a number of those. Bell-Bin, Myers-Briggs, in the work context.
So we thought we knew that. We had some of that stuff down pat. I mean, Andrea went on and did a doctorate in management studies. So we thought we knew some of that stuff. We had that in place. And on the work front, we went out there into the big wide world of work, and we worked myself in banking, Andrea in consulting. So we worked in high pressure environments with some pretty tricky people around us.
Yeah, you had to know how to navigate
that one. So we thought we had the educational background, the work experience, and then on the home front, we had the wonderful privilege in our first year of marriage the end of that, of going and living away from our family and friends. We had the opportunity to go and live and work out in Tokyo, Japan, just the two of us away from family and friends. And that was really great for us because we bonded, we gelled as a couple.
Absolutely.
We didn't spend that much time together, to be fair, because we were
working. That's why it worked so well.
Because we were working hard. And Andrea was also most of the time out of the country. So Monday to Thursday, I think it was. Yeah. She was working out in Seoul, Korea. But she'd come home at the weekends. And those weekends were really wonderful times. We spent a lot of time together in those weekends, really sort of downtime. We didn't go anywhere. I think it was a Saturday. We went nowhere and just kind of spend time together. So we thought we really gelled as a couple, and we had those skills in place. But then in that second year of marriage, then when we left Tokyo and came back to
the great ambitions, entrepreneurial spirit, figuring we'd worked, we'd studied, we had all this experience under our belt.
We came back that second year of marriage.
Let's start a business together.
That was the question. We wanted to do it. So, okay, shall we do it? Maybe now is the time. How hard can it be? And as we said, I think in the last episode, the answer to that question was very, very hard is what it could be.
Yeah, and it was a frightening time, wasn't it? Yeah. Because in our first year of marriage, we dated for 3 years, engaged for a year after that, and then had the first year of marriage. So over those 5-6 years, we thought we had a great friendship. We still do, thankfully. Mm-hmm. We gelled, we got on well. It was such an easygoing relationship in the beginning. And when we started the business together and really started to grate against each other, that was a frightening time, wasn't it? And the challenge is that the level of relational intelligence that we thought we had started to expose us. And how did that show up? It showed up in stresses and tension at work, constant criticism, really trying to change each other to be like us. The arguments at work followed us home, the same critical spirit as we mentioned in the previous podcast. And it was this cycle of frustration that we were stuck in and didn't have the skills to get out of it. That really concerned us because it felt like we were quickly heading down a dangerous path without knowing how to stop it. With hindsight, John mentioned that on a Saturday when we were in Japan, because I worked away during the week, I would come back on the Thursday. We would have the weekend together, and we really ring-fenced that Saturday.
Yes.
So we agreed from upfront that we wouldn't be going out to shop or to meet with anybody else. That would be our time that we totally ring fence to catch up, to have heart-to-heart conversations, to just keep that warmth and intimacy in the relationship on the Saturday. Since we, we're people of faith, we go to church on a Sunday. Since we'd be out of the house on the Sunday, that was the day where we would go to church, meet up with friends, do our supermarket shopping. So all the kind of out and about stuff was on the Sunday to keep Saturday just for us.
Plus the fact that we were completely knackered having worked all week. So Saturday was just not going anywhere day. A quiet day for us.
But looking back, we realized that we lost that good habit, and we lost it because we didn't realize that was actually a good habit for strengthening relationships. And we spoke about the need to be intentional, and that's one of the things that we had lost and needed to get back. But the other thing that we realized, oh my gosh, the different approaches that we had was the real challenge. And that's where we had to go on a learning journey because we thought we knew each other. We knew each other in a social sense, but we did not know each other in terms of our work styles and the strengths that we were bringing to the party. And that's what caused a lot of problems.
Yeah, lots and lots of frustrations on that front. But we hindsight is a wonderful thing. We look back on it now, and of course it's all very clear. But at the time, in the pain, in the trenches, we had no idea what to do. And we were really fortunate and blessed that we came across some material that really helped us begin this journey that we've been on now for 30 years of continuing to understand ourselves better, understand each other better, and relate better to each other. So when we talk about relational intelligence, that really is what is at the core of it. It's understanding yourself, understanding the person that you're trying to relate to, and actually relating to each other, bringing that together in one. So we realized there were some real fundamentals that we needed to learn to be able to do that well, because these things don't happen naturally. All relationships, I think we said this before, all relationships face challenges, they face hurdles. It's not the challenges or the hurdles that are the problem, it's how you address them that's the problem. You've got to be able to get over them. Otherwise, it can become a real barrier to you. Well, I love the analogy, I was going to say the analogy of the I like to think of a sprinter on an athletics track. When they go down into the blocks and the starter gun goes and they look up and they head off down that track, they can see the hurdles, and if they're prepared for the hurdles, if they're prepared, they go over the hurdles and one to the next to the next. It's like poetry in motion. It's beautiful to get to that finish line. If they're not prepared for the hurdles, they hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're out of there. It just it goes down very quickly, goes downhill. They may not even get to the finish line. In relationship land, it's exactly the same. You have those hurdles there. The problem is at the start of the journey, most of us don't know the hurdles are there. We don't see the hurdles. We look down the track and it all just looks great. This is a great relationship. This is a great job. The people around me are all good. It's all going to be happy days. No, it doesn't work like that. Those hurdles are there. We just need to be prepared for them. When they manifest and they turn up and they show their ugly heads, we need to be able to deal with those challenges and get down the track.
I was going to say, it's not just when the problems show their ugly heads, it's when we show our ugly side.
We can be part of the problem as well.
We're under stress and we turn up badly and we turn up in fight or flight mode and just not the best version of ourselves. And that was the problem. And that's what we mentioned before, that challenges are really a signal, a clue that we need to up our skills in how we do relationships. And we need to, because if we had the skills, it wouldn't be a challenge. The fact that we're meeting these challenges, instead of questioning the challenge or why is it so hard, we should question what is it that we need to learn and do and become in order to face these challenges head on. So that's the journey that we went on. And in terms of the lessons that we learned, or there are three big lessons that we had that really helped to accelerate our relational intelligence or ability to do relationships well. And the first was this issue of really understanding that we're wired differently, putting the time in to understand each other more deeply and respect the different strengths that we bring, because that's something that we did not do very well in the beginning.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking when we look in the mirror, we see ourselves. When we look at somebody else, we see a different person. But for some strange reason, we assume that person is going to do like we do. They're going to think, they're going to feel, they're going to act the way we do. And when they don't, we have a problem with that.
We get irritated and frustrated
just for a moment, we forget that they're a different person. They are a different person. They're not you. They don't think like you. They don't act like you. They're just not you. And we need to really process that. It's so easy to forget. We look away from the mirror and we just think, oh yeah, of course you're going to do like me. No.
Well, there's, the way that we dealt with proposals at the time, we ran the business and we had client proposals to do. And we didn't realize it at that time, but it was our strengths that really grated against each other. We didn't recognize our own strengths, and we certainly didn't see them as the other person's strengths. Yeah. So when we did proposals, for example, we've learned since that John is very much attention to detail, very good at anticipating things, crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, seeing things that are visually and structure. That's the key thing. The attention to detail and structure. I'm more free flowing, big ideas, the general direction, and we'll figure it out as we go along. So when I would, there was this one occasion where we had a client proposal. I spent what I thought was a lot of time really thinking about the approach that we would take, how it could be a win-win solution for the effort. We'd be fairly rewarded for the work we would put in. The clients would get a really good price. Poured all this idea into the strategy of how we would approach the client problem. It was so we ran a search and selection recruitment company where we were recruiting senior level management consultants. So how we would creatively help the client to meet the needs that they had for this. I think it was a kind of middle to senior management set of positions.
That time, yeah.
Anyway, so I created this proposal, great ideas, I thought, showed it to John. And in my mind, his focus was just the fonts are all over the place. The logo is all over the place. That's what I heard. What he was saying was the structure and the flow didn't do justice to the idea, but I did not hear that. And that's the polite version of the conversation that we had then.
So my learning from that, again, in hindsight, at the time, we didn't see it. It wasn't that clear.
And we did not have that conversation.
Didn't value it, didn't appreciate it. But at my learning, certainly on that, in that area in hindsight, is that the analogy I now like to use is Andrea is a diamond miner. She is awesome at going into the mine, and she will come back with some proper gems, proper diamonds, huge things. But I couldn't see them. I'm a polisher. I'm a finisher. If you show me a diamond, it's got to look good. It's got to look pretty. It's got to have all the reflective surfaces. You look at it and you go, that's a diamond. Now, you wouldn't be able to polish the diamond if you didn't have the diamond in the first place. And what Andrea is very good at is finding those diamonds, but forgive me, hopeless at polishing them. She can do something towards polishing them, but at the end of it, it doesn't look like a fantastic diamond. We know there's value in it, but somebody still has to polish it to produce that fantastic diamond, which I think, pretty good at doing.
Yeah, that's definitely.
But don't send me into the mine to go find the diamonds. I could probably get a few diamonds out of the mine, and so, but they may not be those big old chunky ones, which is what we're looking for. So actually, what our second big learning we took from this was we have different strengths. Play to your strengths. Let Andrew go find the diamonds. Let me polish the diamonds. Together, we produce something that is fantastic.
Yeah.
But remember that we have different strengths. Divvy up our responsibilities between us to do those things and work together like that.
But the process, what we had to learn to do as well was to trust the process, because we're so different. Sometimes we grate against each other, especially if we're tired or feeling defensive about stuff. The process of going through working together and playing to each other's strength can feel grating at times, frustrating at times, but we've learned to trust the process and know that if we just give ourselves the space to work on it together without attacking each other, we will create something that neither of us could have come up with on our own. It doesn't feel easy all the time, but that's why we had to learn to be intentional about good relationship skills, good habits, learning how to turn up better, learning how to have those better conversations, focusing on the issue and what we're trying to achieve rather than on each other and what we're thinking about each other in that moment. Yeah. So it was a huge lesson in having to up our game in our own relationship skills in order to not lose the gems and the benefit that we have.
Firstly, to realize that to do that self-assessment, to realize that our relationship skills weren't what they could be or should have been.
Yeah.
Despite our backgrounds, despite all the training we had, all the experience, exposure, etc.
Yeah.
We still didn't have some of those fundamental skills to do relationships well.
Well, it's about, who is it? Daniel Goleman, when he talks about emotional intelligence, he talks about awareness and competence, both for yourself as a person, as an individual, as well as in a social context, social awareness and social competence. And those are all the areas that we needed to build our own level of skills, so that because the couple relationship is so much more intimate, so much more intense, because you're exposed to each other, especially when you're working together 24/7. And that's the thing that for busy professionals in this context, where you're working more hybrid or flexibly from home, long distance with colleagues, it creates more pressure on relationships. And our default is not to turn up well. Our default is very defensive, very focused on protecting the me. And the way that we have those conversations can spiral down very quickly if we don't know the fundamental skills of how to do relationships well, how to make space for people to be different, and all the things that went into, we'll unpack those as we go through the various podcasts. But there was that one concept of the emotional bank account that really helped us accelerate our understanding of how we manage relationships in the moment, wasn't it? Do you want to share some of that?
I mean, I think the learning that we took away from that was recognizing. So firstly, we had to understand ourselves better and understand the other person. But we had to take responsibility for how we were coming across.
Yeah, and landing,
It's so easy in relationship land to just blame the other person. To say, there's a problem in the relationship.
And we did that.
You bad person. Why are you doing this to me? What we don't realize quite often is actually the things that we are doing, no matter how small, that may be grating on the other person, may be irritating them, maybe rubbing, maybe not so well, maybe landing badly with them. And this concept of the emotional bank account is something that really helped us see things differently. And it helps us take control for what's happening in the moment. So once you recognize that there are things that you might be doing that might not be helping the relationship, you need to, maybe landing badly in the other person's emotional bank account, let's call it. And all that is that mental record that we keep of the interactions we have with each other. We all have emotional bank accounts with the people around us. Simply that record, mental record, nobody's writing this down, but that record we keep of the interactions we have with each other. When it lands well with the person, it's a deposit. If it lands, it's a ching in the account. If it lands badly, it's a withdrawal. It's sucking the life out of the relationship. The net balance of those deposits and withdrawals is the temperature in the relationship, the quality of the relationship. If it's up in positive territory, the relationship feels good. If it dips down into negative territory, relationship can feel scratchy, can feel like it's not a great place to be. The game in town or success comes from managing that balance so it stays in positive territory. If it stays in positive territory, the relationship can feel good, maybe even great. There's flex, there's give and take. It's all a good thing to be in positive territory. If you're in negative territory or zero or overdrawn, like with your financial bank account, everything can become a problem. You basically don't want to be in that territory. You certainly don't want to stay there. You might dip in there every now and again, but you want to get it back out of there as quickly as possible. And what we realized through this process was when we do something that lands badly with the other person and take a withdrawal out of their emotional bank account, what you should be looking to do straight away is firstly identify there's something that you did that landed badly. And usually you can gauge that, but just by seeing the
Somebody's
reaction,
response to
see the response,
language.
Something didn't land so well. A lot of us we don't know what to do with that, so we kind of just blow it away and carry on.
What we also do is saying, well, I didn't mean it badly, so why are you getting so upset? That was our conversation.
What are they thinking about?
Yeah.
So what we need to do is recognize when we do things that land badly, and in the moment, take responsibility for them. And a great way to be able to do that is just say, I'm sorry, I must have done something. I clearly did something that hasn't landed well with you. Help me understand what I did that didn't land so well with you. And
that is what takes a lot of maturity in doing relationships well, because that is not our default response. The default response, my default response anyway, is to get upset that you're upset.
It's certainly not helping understand what I did wrong. No, so why are you wrong? What have you done here? So that for us was a big learning that understanding of the impact that we're having on other people's emotional bank accounts, taking responsibility for our part, no matter how small, but we've done something, and learning then how to, okay, well, if I did something that didn't land so well, how can I not do that the next time around? But don't stop there. How can I actually do things that will land better?
Yeah.
What can I be doing that will land better? And when you do those two things together, stop making withdrawals and start making deposits, that's when you start to move that bank account back into positive territory, and you have a good chance of having a good, successful relationship.
And that's where understanding our strengths and really taking the time to pay attention to the gift of the person that you have, that's where understanding it more made such a difference, because it was actually our strengths out of balance that grated on each other, where I would be insisting on my way because I could see very clearly the bigger picture, and you'd be insisting on your way because you could see the detail and the structure that would make it better. And we just struggled to hear each other well because we were so caught up in our own world. Yeah. But understanding the impact we were having and seeing the difference to the temperature of the relationship allowed us to take more responsibility for how we came across, how we spoke to each other, and how we managed the level of warmth and worked to fix it the minute that we saw it going the wrong direction. And that's an ongoing process of being intentional about managing the quality of your relationship. So huge skills, huge behavior changes that we had to go through and still are going through, which is why we talk about habits, making a habit of doing the things that land well and build emotional bank accounts.
Once we realized, had that light bulb moment of realizing how we were coming across, how we were landing, and started developing these skills, it really got us in the gut to think, why didn't we learn this stuff before?
Yeah.
We could have saved ourselves a whole lot of time,
a whole lot of
stress, a whole lot of pain, if somebody had taught us this stuff.
Yeah.
Even on some of the courses that we mentioned about the education, why wasn't this stuff either in schools, or why wasn't this stuff in personal and professional development, ongoing development? These are skills that people need. These are life skills that can transform how you get on with the people around you, as we say, at home, at work, in life. These are life skills. Why was nobody teaching us this stuff?
That's a really good point, because what we realized is that the key skills that we learned and the behavior changes that we needed to make weren't just about our couple relationships. They were about who we were becoming as people to be around. And if we realize that, which is the whole point of the question, your level of relational intelligence will either promote you or expose you, because when the challenges come, and it's guaranteed that they will come, whether in work context or in the home context, how you turn up, how you have that conversation, how you behave will either promote you or expose you. It will either set you up for success or put you on a path that could be dangerous and damage relationships. There's a story you like to share about a boss that you worked with, isn't there?
I tell you what, the quality of the personal relationships you have with the people around you can take you so far. Yeah. I remember one of my first boss, actually, first boss's boss, since my first job in banking. Shout out Alan Reed. I don't know if you're still around out there, but if you are, what a guy. I mean, he was global CEO of the business I joined. And he had some amazing people skills. I mean, so much so that when he left the firm that he was at before to set up the company that I joined, he said he was going to go do this thing. And I think 12 of all his senior leadership management team all left with him because they wanted to work with this guy. He was such a good manager, a good boss. They all left this other organization. They had to shut down that division, and they came to the firm that I was at. Yeah. And they set up the business there. But just to say what kind of person he was. So this was global CEO. It happened to be that my desk wasn't too far from his office. And every time this guy would walk past, not every time, but a lot of the times he'd walk past my desk, you would expect a global CEO to just kind of walk past his desk and he's busy, he's going about his business. He would swing by my desk and he'd just look over my shoulder and just say, "Hey, JTC, my name in the banking world was JTC. They used to call me my initials. Hey, what are you up to? How you doing, man? Just checking in with you." It was just such a nice thing to do. No self-importance there, just connecting. You can see why when this guy decided he was moving on, people were like, "I want to work with him." Yeah. And they kept going there. So the relationships can be so, so important. As we say, they can either promote you or they can expose you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is 30, how many years on? And you still remember
Still remember it so clearly.
As a junior, what's it? Maya Angelou says, people might forget what you said, they might forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And in a couple relationship or the important relationships around you at work, people that you're interacting with all the time, our relational skills or RQ will either promote us or expose us, and it will impact emotional bank accounts around us. The important relationships around us, it will impact how they feel and the temperature in that relationship, just based on the level of skills that we have in relating with them, and more importantly, dealing with things when they go wrong. That's when it really gets tested. So we asked ourselves, why didn't we know this before? Why isn't this part of a natural part of personal and professional development? Because it's about who we're becoming. But we also asked ourselves, with the little that we have, what can we do? Who can we share this with? And that's what got us on this journey of making it a full-time mission, isn't it? We started out initially, it was such a light bulb moment for us to discover different strengths and that people are wired differently and how we can anticipate how they might show up, especially on conflict situation, to understand about the emotional bank account and we can actually manage the temperature in relationships. So we started sharing that, didn't we, with anybody who would listen. We had small group discussions at home. We ran weekend retreats. We did conferences.
Well, I was going to say, once people realized what we were doing and sharing this stuff, then all of a sudden we became like the designated counselors. All our friends would say, well, if they knew of anybody who was having challenges, any kind of challenges in relationships, they'd say, go talk to John and Andrea, go have a chat with them. I'm like, okay, we'll have chats. We found ourselves up at, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, counseling. Well, not counseling people, but sharing with people, sharing thoughts. We've always taken the approach of, we don't need to dredge up all the dirty linen or dirty laundry from the past. Yes, you've had some challenges. Let's just start from where you are now and understand what some of those challenges are without going into the history or the background, and then actually give you the skills to help you move forward, to say, okay, well, if you have this kind of challenge again, how do you address it? What are some of the things that you do in the challenge that might not be helping the situation? How are you behaving? How are you responding? Sometimes you're not the one who is initiating a interaction, but you're responding. And if you respond badly, that can then take you down a spiral. So how are we turning up? How are we showing up in relationships? And what can we do differently to get a different result? As we say, if you turn up better, have better conversations, you can have better outcomes. So how do we turn up better each time?
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things that we've been looking at sharing with people on the journey.
And encouraging everybody to take personal responsibility for their own level of skills.
Start with yourself. You can't change other people. You can't change the people around you. You can influence them. But the one person you have control over is yourself.
Yeah.
So understand yourself better. How can you up your own game in relationship, improve your relational intelligence? If you do that, that goes a long, long, long way to getting a different response from the other person. It may not happen overnight, but at least you started that journey of showing them you're showing up better now. You're a better person. Sometimes, quite often our experience is that then has an impact on them. They start to up their game, and slowly you move towards a better relationship.
We'll talk about this later as well. It's not just being better, it's being safer as well, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Opening the door for people to be vulnerable, for you to be vulnerable and really address the issue behind the issue. But we'll get on to that. But when we turned 50, and yes,
we turned 50? We did. I know that's a surprise.
But isn't it interesting that from very different,
maybe to me it is.
From very different journeys, because you were still very much in the corporate world.
Yeah.
I was an entrepreneur running my own business from home, but from very different places. We both got to this point at 50 to say, what do we really want our life to count for? And we realized that this journey of equipping people, supporting people in doing relationships well, that's been the constant. And so we made it our full-time mission. So in 2017, that's when we set up 4 Habits Consulting. And a year or so later, we started the charity, Soulmates Academy Foundation. And then we had the joy of doing the TEDx talk, which really crystallized things. You want to share that one?
It was an awesome opportunity. It was quite daunting to think, how are we going to distill 25 years as well as at the time of working in this space together? How do we distill that down into 15 minutes? That was the ask. 15-minute TEDx talk. Give us something in 15 minutes. Like, ugh. But when we look back and we had we're really blessed. We had some great people helping us structure the talk and getting it right. And what do they say? Get rid of we had some, any little pet subjects or puppies or something. Like, get rid of the puppies in here, your favorite puppies, get them out of this thing. What are the core things? And it forced us to, it helped us realize that actually when we look back over those, at the time, thousands of relationships that we'd worked with, whether work relationships, home relationships, just people that we'd spoken to, impacted through talks, etc. All the relationships that we had seen, all the successful ones exhibited 4 habits. They all were doing 4 things really well. And all the challenged or broken relationships that we had seen were missing 1 or more of those 4 habits. We're like, you know what? Light bulb moment. There are 4 habits for all successful relationships. How do we share those 4 habits with people? How do we package them in a way that people understand it? Yes, up here, but actually it comes out in their behaviors. They actually start demonstrating those habits.
Yeah, making it habits.
Yeah. Whether it's at work, at home, or in life. How do those habits define the person that you become? So when you're interacting with people, every interaction you have is now a positive one. Some interactions need to be challenging ones, but it can still be a positive experience. You can still deliver a tough message in a nice way.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you relate to people in a way that actually those people hear what you're saying and they don't just shut it down because they don't like you or you've landed badly with them? Yeah. How do we get people to develop those habits of coming across well?
Yeah. And so that's what kind of brings us up to date to where we are today and why we're doing what we're doing. Our mission, as you would probably have heard already, but we'll say it again, is to radically transform the way that people do relationships around the globe so that they can enjoy more harmony at home, to be able to thrive at work and to win in life. And especially for busy professionals where stress and hurry really define the environment that you're a part of. Stress and hurry are incompatible with doing relationships well. So we have to be intentional and to know what to be intentional about in terms of the good habits to develop, the behaviors to unlearn and the behaviors to learn so that we turn up better and have better conversations. I was
going to say that's something we're going to unpack in a future episode, actually, that whole demographic of the busy professional, because there's some research that we did back end of 2019. We published it in 2020.
Just before lockdown,
COVID lockdown, looking at that demographic and what's the impact of relationship breakdown there and why was some of that stuff happening. And no spoiler alert, relationship breakdown in that demographic is quite a lot higher than it is across the national average. I won't spoil it for you here. Check out a future episode for that, but we will talk about that there.
That'll be either the next episode or the one after
coming
that.
soon. We may sneak a few other things in the meantime. Who knows? See how we go with this kind of free flowing. But I think this session today, this episode has really been about looking at relational intelligence at the core and just hopefully helping you to think about your relational intelligence, your RQ. Where are you in that space? Is it helping you? Is it helping promote you? Or is it exposing you in a way that actually isn't helping you achieve some of the things that you're trying to achieve, whether it's with your domestic relationships, with your work relationships, with your, you happen to be a part of a football team with yours, other players there, whatever it is in life, is your ability to connect with people, to relate to people, is that promoting you or is it exposing you? Question. Be honest about yourself, about it with yourself. This is not a trick or a challenge or anything in that sense. We're not trying to catch anybody out, but we're just challenging you to think about for yourself, is your relational intelligence, is it helping you achieve what you're trying to achieve? Or actually, are there some things that you could be doing better or differently to help you get to where you're trying to get to?
Yeah. So if, like us, you realize that RQ is a lifelong learning journey, it's, through all of life, we can get better and better in our relational intelligence, in how we turn up in the conversations, the quality relationships we create around us. If you too recognize it's a lifelong learning journey, then come with us. That's what we'll be unpacking in each of the episodes as we share this podcast with you. So with that, I think
it's a wrap.
We'll call it a wrap. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Let's build our RQ and do relationships well.
It's been great. See you next time.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you did, and you want to hear more, the best thing to do is subscribe. Then you'll never miss an episode. There's a new one every Friday. You can stay connected with us on social media at The 4 Habits for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and to participate in discussions related to the show. We always love to hear from you. And of course, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review on your preferred platform to allow us to reach more listeners and help people around the globe radically transform the way they do relationships so they too can enjoy better harmony at home, thrive at work, and win at life.